Okay, I'm currently editing a wedding, so I'm going to show you how to use some basic things on Camera Raw and make some raw presets um, on some of these wedding images. So the first thing we do, of course, is open up our raw images in Bridge. We'll open up this one and give it a minute because I haven't started it in Photoshop today. Okay, so here we are in Camera Raw. As you can see, the skin has a greenish cast to it, so what we can do is just add a little bit of pink to balance out the green, and it totally takes away that green cast to the skin. This is the opposite in that color palette. And so I want to lighten this up a little bit too. Bring my exposure up slightly. You know what? I don't want the exposure up slightly in the whole thing. So I'm going to get my brush, and I can brush on exposure exactly where I want it. So I can just lighten the exposure like in this area between them. And since that's the last thing I did, I can bring that down, bring it way up, just that area. So you can tweak that a little bit. You don't have to know exactly how light you want it until you paint it on. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. And to make a preset, basically all you're doing is you're figuring out what you want for a set, make whatever adjustments you want, and then you save it as a preset. So since I have a bunch of the same image, or not the exact same image, but the same settings with that same exposure in the same area, they're all going to need basically the same thing. So a preset, of course, would save me a lot of time. So I'm going to just click back on the hand. You can click on any of the ones that take you to the main adjustment layers. And I've saved a little bit of pink, a little bit of exposure, but something else that I want to do. I want to add a little bit of fill light. Now, fill light lightens it up in an interesting way. It's like adding fill light, but it takes away some contrast. So you see how you can just add fill light, but see how the contrast starts to go away, makes it fuzzy? So I'm going to add a little bit of fill light, and to balance out that fill light, I'm going to add a little bit of contrast. Now, another thing that I'm going to do is make the image a little less clear. See the clarity down here? If you slide it all the way up this way, it makes everything, super clear. Like it darkens it to a degree, but it makes all the edges emphasized and what have you. So if you do the opposite, it softens everything. See, and you go all the way soft, that's too much. So here's the middle, right here. And so I'm just going to add a little bit of clarity, like about a -8, -9. And that, if you zoom in, you can see it just softens the skin, which is a beautiful look for wedding pictures. Now, I like this whole set right here. I could add a little bit more contrast adjustment. I could bring my highlights up, don't really need to. Bring my lights up. Excuse me, don't really need to do that either. Bring my shadows down. Kind of like to do that since I've messed with everything a little bit in the other one. Bring my darks down. And this kind of almost does the same thing as levels and curves do in Photoshop, with the lights and darks and the contrast. So I like this whole set right here. So if I open all the rest of the ones from this image, I would love to have them all start off like this before I open them in Photoshop. So I'm going to go to this tab up here where it says Presets, and I'm going to click this little square down here, and it's got all that information in there. So I just need to name it, and I'm going to put this Soft and Bright. And now I'll know that that's what that preset does in a green setting. Well, Soft and Bright in green. So I know, like, that's when I've got everybody outside, and I do a lot of shoots in parks and outdoors where there's a lot of green, so that will take away that color cast. And now my preset is saved. And so I'll make another video shortly and teach you how to use all of the little instruments in RAW. You can do just about anything on it. So from there, of course, you've got that saved. You can run it on something else. You can hit Open Image, because I'm going to go back and finish editing that in Photoshop shortly. So I can go to my next image, right here. Open that up, go to my presets, soft and bright and green, bam, it's good to go. I open that, I'm done.